Well, hello, fellow agents. Steve Schlueter of MAPS Coaching, NeverEndingReferrals, and Rescue Dogs in Real Estate. Hey, this is a video I've been contemplating for a while. It's maybe a little controversial, and yet I'm going to throw it out there because I just feel like it's a message that's timely, that needs to go out there right now. It's about teams. And, you know, we've got people that are going into 2022 and they've set goals, and some of them really big goals. And some of them set the goal to build a team. And, you know, I've had a unique seat at the table of the real estate industry for a lot of years. And I'm going to give you my perspective. And I'm not saying it's the perfect perspective. And yet, you know, here's what I've had the opportunity to observe. Before Keller Williams made teams popular, as we were in the early days of that, I was a team leader. Gary Keller was my OP. Northwest Market Center, Keller Williams in Austin, we were the epicenter of the beginning of teams. And I saw people do it well. I saw people not do it well. I continued to see it throughout my 30 plus year real estate career. And I've really seen what works and what doesn't, and what might be smoke and mirrors. And maybe there's really three myths that I want to address today around team building. And I wrote them down. And here's myth number one that we're going to talk about. Let me give you the three, and then we'll go into it. Number one is that I need to start a team right away. That's the only way I'm going to be competitive, and I need to get a group of agents together and we need to team up. Not a good idea. I'll explain why in a minute. Number two, to have a really big business, I've got to have a really big team. A big team will lead me to a big business. Not necessarily. Myth number three is everyone needs to build a team. And I'm going to debunk that myth as well. People will tell you that you really don't have a choice today. I'm going bunk. That's not true. So let's start with number one. And number one was start building a team right away. If you're early in the business, here's what tends to happen. You have a really poor value proposition. You don't have administrative support. You wind up then having to just really raise your commission splits. And then to keep people, you've got to build an infrastructure. And then you've committed to such high cost of sale that your profitability is out the window. And it's really not the right way to build it. This is really just many times a shortcut for people that going, if I build a team, they'll go do all the work, I'll make a bunch of money. They're trying to be a mini brokerage instead of really operating an effective real estate sales team. So don't do that. If you're going to build a real estate sales business and build a team, there are models for it. It's in a little red book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it doesn't start with adding salespeople. It starts with adding administrative people. And only when you're doing all you can do, do you then add a second administrative person. And then you start getting into salespeople when you're doing all you can do. Now, might there be one or two exceptions to the rule? Yes, and then people look to them as the pundits, and you go attempt to duplicate that, and it proves not duplicatable for you. And you have a business that crashes, team building doesn't work, you didn't follow the model. You got to own that. So let's go to the second point. I got to have a big team to have a big business. This is where everybody gets it wrong. The typical millionaire real estate agent business, as we always taught in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Business Planning Clinic, took 17 years to build a net $1 million business. Now, at today's average sales prices, there's no question you can do that faster depending on your market. And yet to build a real net $1 million business might be a 10-year journey. And so let me go back to the myth, and that is to have a big business, I got to build a big team. Here's what happens. Building a big team does not mean you necessarily get a big business. You might just get a big headache. And the reality is, the most successful teams that are big teams because they built a big business first. Let me get really clear on that. So the key here, the contrarian way of looking at this is, and in my view, the proper way of looking at this, you want a big team. That's not really what you want. The end game is you wanted a big business. So build a business that requires you to build a team. And that's that process of playing red light, green light, red light, green light. And then when you're doing all you can and your team's doing all you can, you make the next hire. And building a big team became a necessity for a big business that was founded on an effective lead generation model, that had a proper economic model, that was really clear about its budget and its budget as a tool. And they built the organizational model necessary to make it all work and to net 40% or better in that business. I personally, in my business, before I had the MREA, when I had a team, I netted 42%. And that was with a buyer's agents and 2 administrative people and, doing just over 100 transactions. And I didn't build that overnight. It was a process. And let's go to the last point then. Everyone needs to build a team. No. I think this is a 2%er conversation or a 1%er conversation of people that really should go on and build a team. If you're building a relationship-based business, as we teach in Never Ending Referrals, you get to dictate, what needs to be in place to manage the number of relationships you create into a database. But here's the interesting thing. With a database of maybe just 600 people, I can do 50 to 60 transactions and net the same amount of money as a person operating a team in my same market doing 250 transactions. Now, how do I get the freedom, you say, though? Because I've got to build a team, else I'm bound here and I can't go on vacation. By the way, when you're working through relationship, people will work with you on your schedule. They work with you based upon the standards you represent. You're not just a standard commodity out there. Boy, that's a whole lesson I wish we had time for right now. You become this unique or custom commodity. They can't imagine working with anybody but you. And here's the interesting thing. You need a buyer's agent? Great, get a buyer's agent eventually when you really need it. But if you're doing 60 transactions, just have some overflow agents. Go within your market center, your real estate office, and find 2 like-minded individuals. Have 2 administrative people, maybe also a virtual person or a transaction coordinator, and then have 2 overflow people. So when you go on vacation, they work, buyers that you have, and your listings, they'll wait. And in a pinch, one of your assistants is licensed and they go take the listing on your behalf. And they know the standards that you represent. But let me talk about this overflow agent. This is what I did before I had a buyer's agent. I had 2 agents in my office that I struck an agreement with. I said, I'm going to give you some overflow buyers. I'm not committing all my buyers. And yet when I have an overflow, it's a 50-50 split. And my assistant, Susan, she'll take care of all the processing of the paperwork. And the relationship belongs to my business. So it goes into my database. You don't have permission to follow up with them post-transaction. You will attend the inspections, and we outlined all those specifics in detail. And yet it wasn't a formal arrangement. I didn't have any kind of employer, independent contractor type issues to wrestle with. It was just handled on disbursement authorization of how it was split. It was simple, easy peasy. So there you go, folks. And the foundation of all of this, I don't care whether it's building a team or being an individual agent. Building an individual agent that has a support system can be a powerful, powerful business. And then if you create such power in so many relationships that you have to build a team, there's nothing wrong with that. Just build a team because you built a big business, not building a team in hopes of having a big business. I hope this, I don't hope, I trust this makes complete sense. And I trust you won't get caught in the trap of, I have to go build a team. There are so many teams out there operating at such minuscule profit margins that one breadth of the market shift is going to put them in deep weeds. And I desire that you not build that. Build it properly so that you get to a 30% expense factor, 30% cost of sale, and net 40 if you're going to build a team. Don't handicap yourself by becoming dependent upon, lead sources that you're paying for. Are you building it around relationships? Are you building it around maybe geo-farming? You want to learn more about the relationship aspect of this? Come join us in NeverEnding Referrals. We're kicking off second week of January again. We're an ongoing opportunity. We're live every Monday, noon Central. We'd love to help you and your team and your individual business, whichever it is, navigate this. But be careful of the traps of a team. Do it right. Follow the models. Get coaching around it. Don't get into the wild, wild west of team building. And be careful who your pundits are. Have you looked at their P&L? You notice Gary Keller today in Mega Camp and Family Reunion is interviewing more and more individual agents who have really sizable, high profit businesses. And there's some great teams out there. I think David Huffaker, for example, really high net, on $100+ million team. And be careful who your pundits are, including me. I mean, just don't do your homework, really study before going down that path. All right, folks. Hey, trust this video was valuable. Watch for more content coming your way. We're going to pour it on to you in 2022. We'll see you, folks.